Hi, I'm Jenny Williams, the six-figure coach with Get a Real Estate Life Coaching Program, and welcome to our Google Hangout called 60 Minutes to Six Figures. Today we have a really big topic, and it's called How to Most Effectively Convert Zillow Leads. And as a business coach, I get asked questions about Zillow every single day. Some of my clients are having roaring success with it, and some not yet have success with it. So we're going to talk to an expert in the field of converting. When you properly use the right conversion techniques with Zillow, you can run a highly profitable business. And speaking of properly doing it, right, is the #1 team leader in Birmingham. Yes. Called the Gusty Gulas Group at RealtySouth, and already their team has closed 160 transactions this year, and they are on target to do 210 transactions, and Zillow is their #1 lead source. So welcome to the call, Gusty.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
We also have on the call today our awesome CEO of Viral Marketing who monitors our calls for us and really helps make everything go smoothly. So Frank, welcome.
Hey, good to see you guys. Thanks for being here, and I'm here moderating the Q&A, so if anyone has any questions, just feel free to ask them in the Q&A box, and we can ask Gusty or Jenny your questions during the event.
Thanks, Frank. Always appreciate your help. You know, today we're going to really talk about what you should invest into your business with Zillow. What you're going to learn is how to effectively convert, because you shouldn't be spending money on any lead source at all if you're not seeing a return on it. So we're going to get some really good information for you so that if you choose to use Zillow in your business, then you can follow these steps and really make you know, high conversion, high profitability off of this lead source. If you'd like to know more information, we as a coaching program help you develop a 6+ figure income. Then of course we are always available to help answer questions and to help guide you in a style that fits you perfectly. So Gusty, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay. So really, my first question is about budgets. A lot of times agents, you know, don't take budget into consideration when they start talking about maybe buying leads or signing up for a certain lead source. Some of them will say, well, I only spend $150 a month, right? But you have to make a sizable investment in order to be able to convert profitability. So how do you feel about budgeting and about, you know, how much money do you spend every month on Zillow?
Sure. I think the most important thing is you need to feel comfortable and actually make a budget. I know when I first started, I believe 2010 with Zillow, I think my first budget was about $150. Now our budget for Zillow is over $2,000 a month, but we had to start somewhere to make it to where we are today. So you have to just feel comfortable. If you can, I would say start at $250 or start at $500. And you know, if you're buying leads through Zillow, you're buying zip codes, you're buying impressions. So what you need to do is look at your home base, look at what your niche is. You know, if, say for instance, if your target area is a certain zip code, then that's the one you need to advertise in. There's no reason to get the most expensive zip code that's out there because those typically are hard to turn over because a lot of times those already have agents. So work on the zip codes that you are familiar with and that you can actually try to turn into clients. Budget-wise, I would say start with what's comfortable, $250, $500 a month, just whatever's comfortable.
The reason I brought up the 150 number is a lot of people seem to start there, and I'm not sure that it brings in enough leads in order for someone to convert enough business to stay in on it. So then maybe the agent feels like, well, that's just not for me, or you know, I'm not making a return on it. So So I think 250 is probably really good advice to give somebody a chance to start out, see on that zip code. Now, here's a good question. If you buy a certain zip code or buy into a certain zip code, do you always get leads from that zip code?
Right.
How
No,
many
I'm
leads a
sorry.
month?
How many leads a month? We average probably 8 to 10 zip codes currently on Zillow. We average email leads probably 45 a month is what we've been doing this year. Phone call leads, we probably have another 30 to 40 that call in. And to handle all those phone calls, we've actually opened up a separate phone line. We just call it the green phone for money. And then when it rings, we know it's either a Zillow or a Trulio or a Realtor.com lead. So we know to answer the phone because it might be money. So I'd say on average total probably 70 leads a month.
And how many closings would you say you're able to attribute to Zillow from every single month for yourself?
So far, we have closed over 40 closings just from Zillow.
Is that mostly buyer sides? Do you get a lot of seller sides too?
I'd say 90 to 95% buyers.
Okay.
Are you also using the featured listing option?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things that we use as part of our listing presentation. Our clients are on Zillow. They want to be on Zillow. So it's very important that they are a preferred listing or a featured listing. And by being a part of the premier network on Zillow, they can have their listings featured. So it's very important. It's an extremely important part of our presentation.
Yeah, you know that Zillow, for agents at home, 45 million people a month visit Zillow. It is the #1 real estate site visited right now. So, of course, your clients are definitely there. That is where they are starting their search for properties. And personally, Gusty, I feel like Zillow has changed the way the consumer shops real estate. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. When you're showing houses today, the buyers are way more prepared than they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They have already looked on Zillow. They know exactly what Zillow is saying. They know the Zestimate. They know the square footage. Now, a lot of times that information could be inaccurate.
Right.
However, they have that information. So if you're showing houses, you need to know exactly what Zillow says about that property, so you can know what the consumer knows. It's very important.
Well, and right, on the listing side as well, that if you have property listed, your Zestimate is probably going to be a lot lower than what market value is. So you need to know exactly what Zillow says the value is so that you can prove that it is higher. We face this. I just had another agent face this on Friday. It's a big issue, and I think that's an excellent tip, Gusty.
Thank you.
Could you share maybe a little bit of your lead conversion process? So the challenge I hear a lot from clients at Viral is I'm either getting really great results with Zillow or I'm getting 0 results. I never really hear anything in between. And it always comes down to what do you do with the lead when it comes in. A lot of times you get the email and you make a phone call and then you trash it. That's probably the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Actually, the worst thing is probably emailing it. At least you call it. So what's your process for how you actually follow up with the lead and nurture them into appointments and then sales?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, you have to have a good lead management program. We've got a lead management program that sends out, once we have a Zillow lead that comes in, whoever's next on our rotation for leads, it shoots them a text message and it sends them an email. And it says to contact them. Our goal is to respond within 5 minutes. A lot of times we are showing houses or maybe in a closing or just not in a position to contact these people, so you need to contact them ASAP. So our process starts with as soon as we get the text indication that there is a lead, we need to call them immediately. Hopefully we'll have our iPad or in front of a computer where we can get the information. Typically they're going to inquire about property information or to schedule a showing or whatnot. So you need to have that information readily available, and see if it's active on the MLS. And then just try to book the appointment. The easiest thing, once we actually make contact, we're going to try by phone first. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to try by email, and then and then also by text. The ideal way would be to, if they haven't responded, maybe a few hours, to contact them again and stay on top of them. If not, you need to be in touch with these people at least every day until you've talked to them or had some kind of correspondence. And then at that point, when you do make contact, you're doing anything that you can to book the appointment. Schedule a meeting at your office, schedule a meeting at the property. Just do anything to get face to face with them.
Mm-hmm. Do you round robin the leads to your buyer's agents, or do you have someone dedicated answering the phone because you have so many leads?
That's correct. We have it round robin to our agents, just on a rotation, whoever's next, and just to be as fair as possible.
Okay. What CRM do you use? We have a question here.
We use for our lead management, we use Follow Up Boss. So
when you get the text in, how do you get from the text into Follow Up Boss?
We've got it hooked up where Zillow it automatically emails Follow Up Boss when a lead comes in.
And they push it.
And then once it gets the Follow Up Boss, it shoots out the text message and email.
Cool. Melinda asks, what's the latest that you'll call a client or a lead that comes in from Zillow?
Usually 10 o'clock. But we've had some of our agents have called 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they pick up the phone because they're like, who's calling? So usually I would say 10 o'clock in the evening and 8 o'clock in the morning time.
What do you think is the best response? Is it email or text?
Phone is probably the best response if you can get a hold of them. Then the next thing is going to be email.
Okay. All right. I have heard from lots of agents that are in our program that it is more difficult to schedule a typical buyer consultation, usually from a Zillow lead. Do you see that also?
Oh, absolutely. They're looking at all these different websites online. They don't have an agent typically, is what we've seen, and they want to work with somebody that's going to be responsive to them. And a lot of times they want to see this house day of, or within 24 hours. So if you're not answering your phone or you're not responding to them, you have no chance. They're going to contact 3 or 4 other agents. They're probably contacting 3 or 4 other agents on Zillow no matter what.
Right.
So
they're calling everyone just to find someone to let them in the house.
Yeah, I literally I had somebody moving up from Florida, 4th agent that they called, and they did not email. They just called because they wanted to talk to somebody. I just happened to answer, and I showed them one house and wrote the contract.
Ah, those are good stories.
Yeah, you have to answer your phone. So.
Well, do you find? Go ahead, Jenny. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jenny.
One of the things that you mentioned was having a goal of contacting within 5 minutes. And I know that the success rate that I've seen with the agents is that after 5 minutes, they're gone. You've pretty much probably lost them if you don't have a dynamic follow-up plan. Are you also seeing that? How likely is it if you don't reach them within 5 minutes that you actually will be able to convert them?
Well, if you're not the first person to contact them, you better give them some good information where they would really want to talk to you. And if we're not the first person that's contacting them, we're shooting them an email with our home buyer's guide, and that might be something that sets us apart from maybe not getting to that person first, but we've got a professional, handout that we sent to them that might get us back in the game. And then also follow up. There's many times where we've dropped the ball and did not follow up, but we did maybe a week or 2 weeks or a month later, and nobody else followed up, so we ended up actually getting the deal. So you have to follow up. You have to have a game plan. You have to have tasks and reminders set to contact these people.
You can never underestimate the lack of your competition, right? The lack of their follow-up as well. So.
Well, I mean, they're busy too. You know, the typically the people that are advertising on Zillow are busy agents. A lot of teams have spurred from Zillow. We had so many leads that I ended up having to build a team, and that's probably the same way with other agents across the country. So, it's all about who's going to be the first. But there's a lot of times I can't make that phone call real quick. But if they're responding to 3 people, that might be 3 people that are not responding to them quick. So it's whoever's first.
We had some questions here. Do you leave messages on the first call?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you handle a lead that only wants to see inside before getting approved?
I want to check and see if they have a realtor first, and then some people will lie to you too. But if they're not approved, I do want to meet with them face to face, because a lot of times they might be approved in a year, 6 months. So I'm more concerned about booking the appointment and then qualifying them, because you never know. Even if they did not qualify, they might refer us to somebody that could be qualified.
Sure. Are there more leads in certain times of the year? These are questions that were being asked, Jenny, from Stella. Stella asks, is there more leads in certain times of the year, and are you seeing more leads this year than, say, last year from Zillow? Is there fluctuations of lead volumes that come in, or is it just pretty much straight through?
Yeah, it's going to start slowing down over the next 3 or 4 months. Usually, just when our times are hot during spring and summer selling season, our leads are going to be hot. During Christmas time, we're just because people aren't thinking about real estate. So yeah, it's cyclical.
Okay.
Now, with so many people having been bought into Zillow market this year, have you seen your lead count go down?
Oh yeah. Pretty much I would say that we increased our budget 3 to 4 times and are seeing about the same amount of leads as we did last year.
Oh, that's important. But on 70 leads per month, you're able to easily feed 9 people, right?
That's just one of our programs. We have other advertising, things that we do, but.
Well, yeah, and you have a lot of referral business that comes in too. So, but I'll say that's why I feel like you're so good at converting, because it would take someone else to get 70 leads and not be able to do as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So on those zip codes, Frank, I'm sorry. On those zip codes again, these are the complaints that I hear from agents all the time. I have this certain zip code, but I only get either lease purchase calls, rental calls, or inquiries from other zip codes.
It does happen to us. We get the rental calls, we get the lease purchase calls, we get the leads from different zip codes that people aren't advertising in, and take advantage of that. We're going to need business 2 years, and if you can help these people find rentals, if you've actually invested some time, they're going to work with you in a year or 2 down the road. We've probably already closed, I'd say, 10 houses this year from people that we rented houses to last year. So that's not necessarily from Zillow, that's just through rental referrals or whatnot. But yeah, don't be afraid. Sometimes they do ask for lease purchase, and that's probably the one I hate the most. But you have to reach out and find out if that seller is willing to do a lease purchase. You never know. They might actually be qualified and they just don't realize it, and they might be able to purchase.
Or you can put them in a short-term rental.
Yeah.
So, and agents, it's important for you to know as well that Gusty does have a rental program set up. So that phone call is not probably as frustrating to him when somebody says, well, actually, would they be willing to rent the house? Because he's put systems in place to make sure to take care of that consumer.
Yeah, we've got a few folks on the team that work rentals, and they do a really good job. And we lease some rental properties, and you never know where you can help out. So you never know where the referral might be and what it is.
So that's why I love about this business. You can make money in many different ways, right? It's just all about helping that consumer find the right path. So. I'm stepping on
Yep.
you again, Frank.
No, it's all right. Well, Jenny, you gave me some great questions I want to get to for the interview today. Make sure we're getting them all in. Gusty, this is a good question. So we talked about immediate lead follow-up. We talked about what you're doing immediately for the lead. Talk to them every day. What about someone that's like, I'm not looking to buy for another 12 to 18 months. What are your long-term nurture systems that you have in place in your business to make sure that you're not just focusing on the now business? What about the later business?
Ideally, I'd like to say I've got some great drip email campaigns set up, but really I don't. And that's something that I'm working towards to better increase our percentages on closings. One thing I stress to our team is through our Follow Up Boss lead management program, we can set tasks where 6 months down the line we'll contact them just to get an update, check in with them. Ideally, I'd like to be touching these people at least once a month, especially if they're looking at closing at some point next year. We need to be trying to sit down in January and get a good plan of action together. So it's managing that lead. It's setting up a task and following through with contacting them and trying to set up an appointment.
And from a team building standpoint, I would just have to want to see how many buyers agents do you have working these leads?
We've got, including me, 9 licensed agents, and everybody on our team works both listings and buyers.
So let me ask you this, and this is for anyone who may be in the same situation as you that have a lot of agents working for them if they're in that great position, is how do you know all your leads are being followed up like they should be? Does Follow Up Boss manage all that for you, like on a dashboard?
They're not.
Well, let's talk.
Oh man, I wish.
Why are they not? And what do we got to fix?
As much as you can stress follow up, it really only depends on that agent. I've got agents that do a fantastic job at following up, and they have their task list for the day. They're following up, and then I've got the other ones that don't, and just kind of they'll contact them when they contact them, and so you see which ones are going to be more successful if they've got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually putting steps in place to make sure that happens. Right, Gusty?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a few things coming up. We've got some drip emails coming up. We've got some videos coming up. So we've got a few things lined up.
Is the buyer lead the new seller lead at times? I mean, do you find a lot of sellers disguised as buyers and they come in through Zillow? Or since they're seeing the property, they may be too far down the stream ready to buy?
Yeah, I think that I think that we will start seeing seller leads coming from buyers. The main reason why is a lot of people are going to start knowing that the market, is leaning a little bit towards a seller's market, and so they're going to be wanting to find their house before they put their house on the market because they don't want to be, homeless. So yeah, we've already had that happen this year.
Okay.
And what's funny about that, Frank, is that the trend is also that consumers, for some reason, who actually might hire an agent to put their house on the market, are not seeing that agent as the same one to help them buy the next house. So I think there's also a missing gap. And agents, please know that when you sit down and market and agree to market a house for someone, also talk to them about how you can help them buy, because this is happening over and over where it's not the same agent. That seller is actually finding someone else to help them buy the next house.
Yeah, because they don't put 2 and 2 together that you can help them on both sides.
Well, and the agent is assuming that that's going to happen, and they're not actually discussing it with the client. So that's just a huge trend that I'm seeing right now, and I think, Gusty, you're absolutely right. They're going to start shopping for where they're going to go next because the way that the market is kind of tight, and then you're going to end up seeing a lot more two-sided relationships.
Well, what I'm going to do here, if that's all right with everyone, is a while back I wrote a really good buyer nurture campaign. I think it'd be kind of cool if when the buyer lead came in, you could just strip out some cool stuff. I'm going to post it up for free here in the comments if anyone's interested in it.
How awesome is that? I can say that Frank is a wonderful writer.
Thank you.
And
that's my game.
And I'm awfully jealous that he gets to do it at Starbucks in San Diego.
Yep. Very nice. I'm on 9th and J by Petco Park right now. Yeah, our office is back in Omaha and I'm here. But yeah, that's the reason actually I moved to Southern California, is because I really get to use the creative juices. So I'll post that link here. It's a simple plain text strip. You're free to use it, copy and paste. And if you can somehow get the technology to work, so when a Zillow leads come in, some series of emails drip out, and there's a lot of technology out there for whatever you want to use. The key is the content. What do you say? This is a good place for here to start. I'll put in the comments.
Thank you so much. Gusty, do you have a lender that actually is on your Zillow account with you that also follows up with leads?
I currently do not, but that is something that I'm considering at this time.
I know a lot of agents do, and they're actually having really good results from that lender also reaching out because it's a different kind of reach. It's a different conversation, and together the agent and the lender are having really good success. You might think that, oh, if they're contacted by too many people, but I think in this case, because so few agents actually follow up with an incoming lead, that I think the consumer is actually impressed. They get 2 phone calls from the same source.
Mm-hmm. And what you're seeing too from larger around the country is a lot of these mega agents and teams within the guidelines of RESPA, partnering up where the mortgage people.
Right, saying the right words.
Yeah. Well, believe me, we deal with that a lot. We don't get in any trouble. All right, but is somehow within those guidelines is getting your mortgage partner will actually be calling, converting the leads. And I'm really actually helping you out with a lot of those lead conversion follow-ups so the buyer's agents can work with buyers. And I see a lot of mortgage people employing, people that specialize in phone call follow-up for $10, $12 an hour to follow up with leads to help you. So, for what it's worth.
That's true. I've heard that too, and then that'll really help with budgeting. I know it's a trend, so definitely wanted to ask that for sure.
So we got a question from Joey. Let me get this in here, Jenny. Does Zillow automate the round robin leads to your team, or does someone on the team have to manage that? So how is the round robin managed, all your agents?
Basically, we have an email set up that goes basically our email from Zillow is a follow-up boss email, and then once the lead is triggered, it goes straight into our follow-up boss lead management system, and then that's when our round robin is triggered. So it is instant that the leads go out.
Cool. All right.
So them to respond within their 5-minute time period.
Hopefully they'll respond in their 5-minute time period.
Okay, what about, doesn't Zillow generate seller leads too? Have you played around with some of the seller lead generation from Zillow versus the buyer leads? Get the free home value report. Have you had any success with seller leads generated that way?
I'm sure they do. There's some, some of the other websites do, I know. We haven't done that. I think there's some foreclosure advertising opportunities on Zillow. We have not really went down that line just because we feel like that's a little bit more work that you're going to have to do, and it just doesn't make sense for us, currently. But we like what we're doing currently.
I do have an agent that I'm working with that does use the foreclosure option a lot, and it is a different lead. It's a different kind of lead. The conversation's different, and they might seem a little bit more difficult up front, but they're looking for what everybody else wants. You just have to hit the right hot buttons with your scripts on those. And then they actually turn into really good, ready to buy now leads.
Well, let's talk about some of those scripts a little bit. I think it'd be very good to hear is that when a Zillow lead comes in, they're probably maybe even on the website or on their phone, in front of the property, want to see it, or whatever it may be. And I think usually you're in the best position if you can bring them in for a buyer consult first before you show the properties. I would assume that's usually what's taught, at least the ideal process. Maybe you want to go over, Gusty, some of the scripts that you teach your agents and how to convert a Zillow lead and role play that.
Sure. Yeah. I think as far as what we do for Zillow is, we'd like to get them in for the buyer consultation, but we found they want to see the properties. So, one of the things that we're trying to find out is, once the lead comes through and we're contacting them, we are finding out, we're going to pull up that information of the property and try to find out the history, make sure that the house is still available. And then at that point, we want to ask, when they've inquired about the property, what do they want to know? And a lot of times they're like, we just want to see it. And so at that point, what we're asking is, all right, have you been pre-approved? Some will say yes, some will say no. Are you working with a realtor? Some will say yes, some will say no. And if they're working with a realtor, we try to ask who they're working with, and sometimes they can tell us, sometimes they cannot. And if they cannot tell us who it is, it's probably a good opportunity that we can go in and try to pick up that business. If they do know who it is, typically we just say, this is a great opportunity for you to contact your agent and get that information for them.
Okay. Well, before we get into the scripts, one other kind of question. This has to deal with the buyer's agency. What about the whole contract of I'm your agent, sign this agency agreement? How do you handle that? And do you even do those? I mean, what's the
it's tough. A lot of people, especially that are coming in from internet lead sites, they really don't want to sign buyer and they don't want to commit. And if we can get them to commit, that's awesome. The way I look at it is I'll be glad to show somebody a house the first time, and that'll also give me a chance to see if I want to work with them. And then if after we've seen that property, then we're working on getting them pre-qualified. If they can't get pre-qualified after our first meeting, we're going to try to get them on a game plan to get qualified. If they're not pre-qualified after our first meeting, there's no sense to waste time. But if they are qualified, we want to work towards setting them up on a list for new listings and price changes. We want to work with them, and what we're asking is, hey, we want to commit to you. Will you commit to us?
Well, and most of the time and of course nobody wants to commit up front, right? You're not going to say, hey, my name's Gusty, would you like to marry me? I mean, you got to do a little bit of dating, a little bit of song and dance and a woo, and they just want to see the value. And then, Frank, I can tell you once a consumer meets Gusty or anybody on his team, because they're all just such amazing people, that they see the value. I mean, Gusty's team has already saved over $600,000 for their buyer clients this year. That's amazing. That's real value. But when you're just looking up, a flat object on the internet, every agent is the same. The playing field is the same for every agent until that first contact is made, and then that relationship starts. Sorry, you asked buyer agency, and I am all passionate about that.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back to the scripts. I mean, we talked about some scripts here. Let me ask a quick question from Melinda again really quick. So, Gusty, if a lead comes in after 10 p.m., are you still emailing and calling them? Do you still call them or email them after 10 p.m.? Do you email Zillow leads?
It depends on if I'm up. I would say at least email them. I would say at least email them if you are up. And that just shows that you're committed to your job. I mean, everybody has different ways to look at things, but there's a lot of times if you're willing to send them an email at 10:30 at night, they know that you're going to be willing to work hard for them, and they might be a little bit more apt to work you.
That's great.
Well, and Melinda, if I can add to that, if they contact you after 10:30 at night and you are awake, they just ask permission for you to contact them. So if you're up, contact them, because they're probably, if they're one of the night owls, they're probably not going to be available when you're up at 6 to 7 or 8 a.m. anyway.
That's
If for some reason they sent an inquiry and it was late and you happen to be up, they just gave you permission to do it. And in fact, that's probably the time that they need, that they can actually focus on their home search. You just have to set the boundaries later. That 11 o'clock every night is not acceptable.
Understandable. So let's go back to some of those scripts. I think, Jenny, you should be the buyer lead, since you know the objections much better than I do, and make it hard. And then let's hear Gusty. Let's hear you answer Jenny.
You put me on the spot.
Let's hear Jenny do that.
But he pretty much said it, because he said it's all about the house. at that point where I feel like, and Gusty, tell me if I'm wrong, because every day is a learning day for me. When somebody is shopping, especially like this on Zillow, then it is about the house. They don't care about the agent. So I think where a lot of the agents will fail in their scripts is they make it about themselves. I would love to show you that. Well, I'm sure you would. I've been in the business for this many years and have helped this many people. Well, great, because I only want to know if it has 4 bedrooms and does it have a playroom.
Or if it's still available.
Yeah. Or can they at least purchase it?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes.
So, I think that probably, I do believe it is in the message, right? And of course in the method, but more importantly, it's in what not to say. And don't make it about you, the agent, because they don't care at this point.
Yeah.
They only want to know the information, and if you don't give them the info on what they're looking for, then they don't see any value in you.
Yeah. I'd say make it short and sweet.
Yeah. One of our agents the other day, poor thing, and I know he is on this call, and he is amazing. Well, a lady called, and she wanted to know like really hard questions, like when was the roof replaced? When did these windows go in? I mean, those are a lot of times we don't know those as listing agents. We have to go back and find those out. I mean, a random phone call, we're not going to be able to share that kind of info. So he said, hey, let's make a list of all the things that you want to find out, and I'll get all the answers for you. And she said, well, what value did you have? You don't know anything about this house at all.
You probably wouldn't have been good and fun to work with either, so cut your losses.
Well, and that was another thing, Frank, like Gusty said, and I'm just going to kind of bring it home, is he wants to find out if he wants to work with them also, because not every buyer is for every agent, and just because they're buying and they have money in their pocket, I want the agents to relate to people who are going to embrace them in their business and get out there and tell the world that everyone else has to hire them. So if I've got a choice and I've got lots of leads coming in, then I'm with Gusty. Let's be selective, because who wants to spend their limited time with someone who's not enjoyable to work with?
No, I agree. One thing that you might want to look at too is you never know what that lead that comes in. You never know what it might turn into. Like for example, I know about a year or two ago we had a lead that wanted to sell a trailer, and I'm not the person to sell a trailer. Don't even know where to begin to do that. But we ended up working with them, and they ended up building a $300,000 house. So we stayed in touch with them. We worked with them, and we ended up renting their trailer out, and then they bought a $300,000 house. So you never know where that lead might what the lead might turn into, or who they might know that they might refer to you.
Well, and talking about, and you're right, you don't know. A lot of times when people say just filed bankruptcy yesterday, I don't care, I still want to meet with you, because you never know who, there's a reason they want to buy a house. They probably saved some money under their mattress, or somebody handed them a pile of money, and that's why you end up finding the opportunity in every person if you give them a chance, right? But going back to the script piece, and do most people contact you by email or by phone calls?
I would say probably 70% by email, and and typically it's about information from a property.
Right. Okay. So, Frank, I hope that answers some of what you want to know. Right? You give that little taste of, hey, this is what I know about the property, and I think where a lot of people are having success are, when would you like to see it, or I can get you in to see it this time and this time. And they either have the buyer appointment on the way, like right before, or they have the buyer appointment right after.
Let me ask you this. Because I'm not an agent, but I don't know if this is even legal. So ooh. But when I called the agent, They're just like, yeah, here's the code. Go look at it. Let me know if you like it. I was like, awesome.
See,
Can't
and
do
you
that, can you?
Call that agent back and work with
Yeah,
them.
well, I was like, I want to use this guy because this makes my life really easy. He just gives me the code so I can go there and see it versus having to schedule a time and go through all that mess.
He was
Okay.
probably surfing.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. No.
I was like, this is great. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, the
Okay.
agent
Well,
power may be
here's
nameless.
two things, right? That with you saying that, and actually, this is great that you brought this up because this is exactly what a consumer wants. This is what I would want, only because I have a very, very busy schedule. I need you or anybody who helps me with the purchase of anything to make my life easy. And the easier you can make it, like giving me the code and walking away, would be, I would love that. I would be thankful for that. Okay, you're probably the same way. You got excited about that because one, you didn't have to listen to a sales pitch.
Well, no,
Right.
and then the challenge was like I was out and about and I was like, I'm gonna make a decision here in like 2 hours. So whoever the first person back to me is to make this decision, I'm gonna get this done with now. And like that helped.
All
But
right.
that's
So
my personality.
no, I love that. That's mine too. So high sense of urgency, right? Which the
Hmm.
way of the world is that way today.
Yep.
So I guess agents, if you're hearing what he says, and don't give people the code because that is not legal. But what he's saying is, I want to see it, and I want to see it now, and I don't care about how I get in. And how do you go from making that happen, making that possible in your busy schedule, and then turning Frank into a relationship?
What I would love is this is what I told my agent when I was working with one down here. This is for a lease. So everything's so expensive down here is you have to work with an agent for leases down here. But I said, what he had was, you know what, I actually have a little personal video I made of the place. I'll text it to you so you can kind of really see if you want to see it first. I'm like, really? That's awesome. It wasn't up online. But he had a little extra video, and that really was like, this is a guy that I like to really work with because he made my life easier. So maybe it was just kind of a crappy video with a cell phone, so I don't think they wanted to put that up online for the expensive property. But it was something that maybe once he made contact with the buyer, he sent them, and that really helped in my experience for
Love
me
that.
personally.
Actually, I love that idea.
That was a good idea.
That is.
Yeah, it was
Now,
like, here's these really nice pictures, like, it's not quite always as true as the pictures. It's like, here's a whole video walkthrough I did, but I'm not putting it online because it's like my cell phone. I'm like, great. So we looked at that and we're like, yep, don't want to see this one, but what other ones do you have? What other videos can I see? He's like, he sent me some other ones, and that was actually the agent that we used.
but you know why? Because people trust um, uh, things that are not polished. They trust more.
Oh yeah, the photos were nice, but it's like, this is not what this place looks like.
Right.
And the wide angle lenses make it look a heck of a lot bigger than what it like really is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I like that tool. Now, here's our issue is that most of the time when a Zillow lead will contact like Gusty, he's not going to have access to that because a lot of times they're not going to be his listings, right, Gusty?
Yeah.
But if they are, so that's an excellent tip to use. And also, what does the seller like about the house? And why did the seller choose to buy here? Love that. And when we promote, houses that we're marketing, that's a good way to do that as well. But I think that's funny. Thanks for sharing that, Frank.
Just from personal experience. I thought that was interesting. So, what about, since we're on the topic of Zillow, let's talk a little bit about Zillow Reviews and maybe how that helps in leveraging Zillow to its fullest. What are your thoughts on Zillow Reviews? Do you get them? Do you not get them? What's the deal with that? Does it make a difference?
No, Zillow Reviews is extremely important. We were probably one of the first to adapt to that when they came out with that a few years ago. We've got a process where a closing process, whether it's a Zillow lead or whatever, we get a review from every client as long as they're willing to send it back to us to find out how we did. We then have an email that goes out that says, hey, please put this review on, Zillow, Trulia, LinkedIn, whatever. And so, yeah, there's some strategy to it because we want to make sure that we want to know that we're doing great things for our clients, and we're very customer service oriented. So we want to hear about that, and then we also want to be able to tell other people about it. So that's why we're putting it on the different websites. So we're the highest rated and reviewed in the Birmingham area, and so we're going to stay that way.
How many reviews in Birmingham is the highest?
We're at like 98, I believe.
Cool.
Which is awesome.
Which is very good.
You can use Real Satisfied as well, and they will help push it out, and it's not very expensive. They do an evaluation and reviews as well, so that's another tool that you can put in your toolbox. And we talked about this at Mastermind this past week, Gusty, is that I think Simon said it best when we are in the recommendation economy right now. People may not trust us so much because they don't know us yet, but they're going to trust what other people say.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
I agree. It's important for us.
It is, and people have gotten mean. So people are very honest in their reviews.
Yeah. Well, luckily we haven't had to worry about that because our game plan is to do an excellent customer service job and make sure that our clients are, had a good time working with us. And so luckily we haven't had any bad reviews that have come in. So
that's good. Every once in a while you'll have that, one person that'll do all ones, who just couldn't be satisfied. And that actually goes back to what we were saying earlier, is every agent does need to make sure that the client is ideal and matches, the value set of the team, the agent.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I have a question. Like, when do you stop spending money on Zillow? Like, at some point where it's like, okay, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, I mean, you probably have to have some way of knowing, like, when's the amount? I mean, like, we have a client that spends over $20,000 a month on Zillow.
Jeez.
I believe it. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, your budget is so good, Gusty. I mean, it really is. That's why. That's why I get
20,000.
I know, and his is at 10% of that.
Okay. Well, for somebody starting out, they need to take it at least 6 to 12 months and make that, make that sacrifice. Because a lot of these leads, I mean, some of the leads that we've closed are not from leads that we've received this year. It's from leads that we've received all the way back from 2010. So you've got to you've got to stay in front of these people. So the day I stop is when the ROI is not there. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, if we're not making money from it, I'm going to go try something else. So, but you have to start. It's just like any advertising campaign. You got to make that commitment for 6 to 12 months, and then at the end of that, if it makes sense, continue. If not, try something else.
Well, and there will be something else that comes up. We've already talked about how, Zillow's done an excellent job of selling a lot of agents. There are a lot of people on board right now, and there should be, since 45 million people visit every single month.
It's only going to grow.
Right.
Yep.
It is. And so when something grows, your return is going to go down. It's inevitable. And then, but that's okay. He's a proactive agent. He's going to be looking to see.
Which will always go back to getting the listings and the buyers coming hopefully from the signs.
Right.
And it's going to go back just the strength of the listing agent will win out. Question from Charlene. Do your customers usually input their own reviews on Zillow, or do you sometimes have to input the review for them?
No, what we do is once we send out a review, it's a PDF, let them fill it in, save it, send it back to us. Then we're going to send them another email, and we're going to type out in the email their review. And we're going to ask them to copy and paste it in Zillow, and we're going to give them the link to copy and paste it in there. So Zillow, I don't believe, has an option currently that you can post it in there for them and they can approve it. I think you actually have to, they have to set up a login and actually paste it in there and do it themselves.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked through
Zillow. Make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they won't do it.
And also, too, little tip from what I picked up from our discussions was when you ask for a review is ask before the home closes, because if you ask afterwards, they don't have an internet connection and they're not going to do it. So actually before closing, that's probably the best time to give them their gift and say, hey, quid pro quo review.
Yeah. Yeah, we send out our review email on the week of their closing, and we ask them to either send it back or bring it to us at closing. If not, we are contacting them on a weekly basis until they send it back.
Gusty, you should be a rep for Zillow with these questions you're getting. Is there a limit to the number of agents that Zillow will take for each zip code, Leanne asks?
That's a Zillow question. Ask Spencer. I feel like there's not a limit, but yeah there's limits.
I feel
and then they just everly increase, with they increase their impressions as their website increases hits. So, where it used to be you could buy 50% or 100% of a zip, now you're buying the impressions. So I mean, it's a different ballgame, and they've done a heck of a job, taking, just ripping our wallets from us. So
that's true. That's true. That's why conversion is so important. Okay, so without me putting you on the spot, and let's just say that I email you over inquiry on a certain address. So what are you going to say to me on that first email back to me?
Hey Jenny, I saw your response on Zillow.com about 123 ABC Street. The house is still available. What particular questions do you have about this property?
Wow, that was hard. And you didn't make it about, hey, I've been in business here, I'm the #1 team.
They don't care about me. They care about the property.
Right. And then of course, Frank, don't let him fool you. He's got the cool factor in town. They care about him later. But okay, so there's your script. And it's as easy as that. And you've got to get that to them within 5 minutes. And I feel like if you would, based on everything we talked about today, that is the #1 way to convert, is hitting that up within 5 minutes.
Gusty, make a little.
Tell them.
Gusty, make a short little video on your cell phone saying, "Hey, I'm Gusty. I understand you want to see a home. I'm here to help you. I want to be the agent that is responsive and to help you get into the home that you love. I just want to introduce myself." That's it. It all has to be. And then you can actually text a YouTube video to people, and they'll play it on your phone. It's crazy.
Now that's good. That's good.
Soon you see video all the time.
We're gonna have a video that is an introduction on all of our leads that inquire. So that is very, very soon.
And I think using Google Voice is, if anyone wants to text a lead, you can actually use Google Voice. Their software is free. I think they limit the number of texts you can send a day, like 25 or 50, so you can't use it for like mass texting, but like it comes from a real phone number, and you can actually just copy and paste the YouTube link right in the text, and it puts up a video, and they click it, and it just sets you apart for maybe like, being, that was probably more important for what are those services that give you leads, but they give it to 3 agents at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we combated that to differentiate.
Yeah, I like it.
That's a great idea, Frank. And he always gives fresh ideas.
Leanne asked another question. There's a Zillow question. So Leanne, this is probably best for your Zillow rep. But will Zillow tell you how many agents are already signed up for your zip code? I'm sure by the inverse of the price they're charging, I bet you can probably figure that out.
I don't know. That's a discussion with your rep. I don't know what they can or what they cannot. It don't really matter to me, because in my viewpoint, I'm looking at where that zip code is. I'm looking at, do we service that area? Do we have a name in that area? And does the cost per impression make sense to me? So I don't really care who I'm going up against, because I've got the biggest, the most reviews and the highest ratings. So for me, it's a little bit different. But I would, stay with something that you're very familiar in, so that you can be knowledgeable when they do call.
Sure. Any other questions from anybody else? We got about 5 minutes left here. Why don't, before we go into more questions, Gusty, why don't you tell us maybe who you're looking for in an ideal hire on your team at maybe some point in time?
Yeah.
and maybe some benefits of that. Of maybe if someone's out on their own, they say, well, maybe I can work on Gusty's team and get the leads, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a team of 13 folks. We've got 5 admin behind the scenes that do a fantastic job for us to make our jobs easier. So we're always looking. We're not looking for anybody right now, but we're always like to meet with agents. We like to meet with administrative staff just in case a position opens up. Plus, we like knowing other agents in our market, and if they're interested in working with the team, I'd love to meet with them. And if it's not a fit for us, they might be a fit for somebody else. So I would encourage any agent, especially in our market, or somebody that wants to maybe even go the admin route, or knows somebody that wants to be in real estate. A lot of times going the admin route before you go into real estate sales is an easy transition. So we look at meeting with everybody and seeing if we can be a benefit to them, and vice versa.
Cool.
You also want to make sure, put your contact info out there, because people across the country need to know where to send their Birmingham referrals.
Sure.
So what's the best way to contact you, Gusty?
The best way is my cell phone is 205-218-7560. You can also email me at gusty@gustygulasgroup.com. And we cover the greater Birmingham area, basically a 45-mile radius of downtown Birmingham.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to end with as far as effectively converting Zillow leads? Anything else you want to hit on?
I'd say don't be afraid to contact these people. I mean, they've contacted you for more information. This is a sales business. Be prepared when you do call them. Go ahead and try to find out that information, and be honest with them. If you don't know the information, find out the information and call them back. There's no reason to give any false information. And a lot of times we say, if they're inquiring about a property, according to MLS, this home is still active. However, we will confirm that. What other questions do you have? So, you can let these people if you just ask questions. And don't be afraid to have, systems in place to work with these people. I mean, having a lead management program, having a home buyer's guide, things that can set yourself apart from other people. And that's one thing that we do that sets ourselves apart for us to at least book that appointment.
Cool.
I have one last question that is, you actually brought it up, and it was the difference between incoming leads and impressions. Because you're right, the way that they're selling agents now, one of our agents just asked us a little while ago saying, hey, I can buy 8,000 impressions. Well, do I necessarily want to buy an impression? I'd much rather buy a lead. So how many, you said you've got about 70 leads coming in per month. How many quote-unquote impressions have they told you?
30,000.
Okay.
We probably have 30,000 impressions.
Okay.
So do the numbers there.
Well, that is exactly what I want.
Well, the real number, the real number in the internet marketing world is I'm getting $5 leads or $6 leads or $20 leads for buyer leads. That's kind of the lingo. So here's my question: how much do you spend per month divided by 70? That's your cost per lead. So you're spending what, 2 G's a month about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So divided and doing about 70 leads a month is what you're getting.
It's about.
I'm doing it.
$30 a lead.
You're spending about. It makes it simple. You're spending about $28.5 per lead that comes in from Zillow. So if you think about that, you're like, oh, that's a $28. That's a $28 bill in my email.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but he has the green phone, and when it rings, that is money ringing.
That's right.
Pay that $28 back plus.
All right, Jenny, why don't we've exhausted our time today. Gusty, thank you very much, and Jenny, why don't you wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you.
No, Gusty, thank you so much. I mean, I feel like we kind of put you on a bar stool and we're like, bam, threw everything at you today. So thank you so much. You are truly an expert at this, and thank you for sharing and helping so many people today. I always appreciate you. And agents, if you have any other questions or you need help building your 6+ figure business, then definitely reach out to us. We are happy to talk to you about building that in your business as well. Have a great day, and check us out on our next Google Hangout next month.